Welcome, everybody, back to the episode 13. Back to episode 13 of the Mando. I am your host, Armando Ortega, and welcome back. For those of you who are at work, who are just listening to this through one earpiece or whatever, I hope this helps you kill time for your shift. And for those who are happily asleep or going to sleep, have a good night's sleep. Today we're going to be listening to the beautiful sounds of Tony Bennett. I left my heart in San Francisco, and listen to this part that's going to come up right now. And I got a story for you real quick about it. So apparently that part is placed in the intro of the Trailer Park Boys, which my boy actually had me start watching one time when we went to hang out at his place. The show's, honestly, I should really start watching the show. I mean, like, we watched the first couple of episodes, and like the humor, it was funny. You just really gotta have that type of sense of humor and just be watching it, and just it was nice. I really enjoyed it. I haven't been watching the show though, even though I actually quite enjoyed it. Anyways, some of you may be asking, hey, why do you keep playing the same records? Well, because as you guys know, I love records, one, and two, it's a very expensive hobby. For everybody who knows what expensive hobbies are like, it's like when you get into firearms, you want more firearms, you want to customize the ones you already have right now and everything like that. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you a good amount of money. And that's basically records in a nutshell. Records are making a huge comeback. And how do you say it? It's just, they're pricey. But some of these people I think I said this in like the first, second episode. Some people really take advantage, It's like the PS5, Xbox Series X type of deal when they came out. Because when they came out and everything, the retail price was $500. It was cheaper than the Xbox One when I bought it back in 2014. I paid like $700 something for that. But people were just buying them up in bulk and just price gouging, basically. I've seen people start selling them for $800. People sell them for over $1,000. Down here 2,000 and everything, because they were in such short supply of the new consoles that people take advantage of it. It's smart in their part, but at the same time, it's kind of like a jerk thing to do. I know, like, the how do you call it, the severity is very, very different between both these examples, but it's like, it reminds me of what was it, the CEO of Nestle or something, when he was saying that water is not a human right, and they need to gain every access to every single water production in the world so they can sell water to people. And it's like, that's kind of power hungry. It's like, water is essential for all of us to live, and now you're saying no, the only way you can get it is through us. Kind of reminds me of that level of Dying Light. I mean, not Dying Light. Yeah, Dying Light 2, the second one. I want to get that game, but I haven't gotten it yet. I have no one to play it with me, which sucks. But, how do you say it? It's kind of like that, except not. That's what I said. It's like the severity is different, but it's essentially the same thing, because it's like, this is something that everybody wanted. Everybody was looking forward to these two consoles, these new ones and everything. And then you just have people like that who will literally just swoop in there and just take every single one of them and everything. I saw this one video actually where this guy met up with his two homies, and they opened up a van, and in the van, in total, this is my dishwasher, sorry, I'm washing dishes. In total, they had like roughly around 50 PS5s and a couple of Xbox Series X's, and I knew they were gonna go and sell them and everything for insane prices, but it's just like, that's just the name of the game at this point. It's like, unless you have reserve one and or have a homie on the inside who's able to like put one to the side for you, it's just damn near impossible to grab one at this point for like the intended retail price. So, how do you say it? How are you guys doing today? I'm doing pretty awesome. Woke up pretty early. Not super early like I have been doing the past few days, because the past few days I've been getting up at like 6 a.m. or so to like go to the gym for a while and then come home, take a shower, make breakfast, and chill out before I went into work. But how do you say it? Today didn't really get up until like 8. So just made myself breakfast, cleaned up a little bit around the house. And after this, I'm just going to edit and then go to the gym. But something's been on my mind lately. Nothing bad. It's been like pretty awesome, to be honest, because it's just like, how do you say it? It's made me, what is that called? Not nostalgia, kind of nostalgia and everything, but it was more of, gave me a desire to replay some. And that game, it was actually 2 games. One was after watching the movie The Prince of Egypt by DreamWorks, which, by the way, DreamWorks used to be on par with Disney in their animation and everything. But the second one being, how do you say it? Oh, no, that one being making me want to replay Assassin's Creed Origins. And then the second one making me want to, how do you say it? Replay the Batman Arkham series. Hold on. I love this album. I love this record. And I love Tony Bennett's voice. But his voice is very distracting right now. Hold on. Give me a second. Tony! I'm sorry, boy. Yeah, you need to stop. Maybe I should have thought this through. I'll just put something on and stuff. But yeah, so how do you say it? It made me want to replay Assassin's Creed Origins, which I started to like I think 2 months ago or so, but I restarted it and then I just stopped because I started playing all these other games. But then like the one recently was the Arkham series, you know? Made me kind of nostalgic for that because I remember being 15 years old, right? Yeah, like 15 years old. And how do you say it? Let me just restart that. There we go. Yeah, being like 15 years old. And I remember just, how do you say it? Going to Target one time. Back where I used to live, back home and everything. And I remember going to Target when they used to put like consoles up there so you can like play demos of games that were coming out or games that are already out or whatever. And one of the games that was being advertised that day was Batman Arkham Asylum. And I was just like, Batman game and everything. That was back then before I really started disliking Batman. I'll probably get into that in a bit. But it just made me play the demo. And the demo consisted of basically in a challenge map. And what you're doing is going off against, I think, 3 or 4 waves. Or maybe 5. I forgot. I haven't played in a while. Of thugs. You know, inmates from the asylum. Well, technically, they're inmates that were transferred from Blackgate into the asylum because of fire that happened at Blackgate. But how do you call it? And you're just fighting them. In each round gets progressively tougher. And I remember for the demo when I wasn't good at the game at all yet, it took me a while to get past the round where the thugs go and get rifles from the gun cages and everything, and you gotta like take them out before they even get the chance of doing so, or be very careful if they do end up getting the rifles, because then they'll just shoot you and they'll just die. But I think it was the last one, and the last one was this inmate with like a red jumpsuit and chains and a Hannibal Lecter mask, comes out with two knives. He's like dual wielding knives, and it's like, what, throw me for a loop and everything like that, but it just made me start thinking. It was just like, how far the Arkham games got and everything. I think I know I spoke about this in a previous episode and everything, but it's just like, when that was around the time where I really started being able to play a lot more variety of games, and that was Rocksteady's version or iteration of what Batman is and his adventures. You know how huge that game got? It got to the point where not only like inspired for their own comic to be made, but it was also a movie, Attack on Arkham, I believe. And that included what was his name, Black Spider and everything, DC's version of Spider-Man, except this one's an assassin. But yeah, so that game got huge, and I started really thinking about it, and I was like, that game really like broke a lot of barriers of what people thought, superhero games were and everything like that. Like, yeah, we had amazing masterpieces like Spider-Man 2, Spider from the movie, Ultimate Spider-Man with Venom, and I don't care if people don't agree with me, but Marvel Nemesis was an amazing game. I loved it. Wolverine, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Venom, all of them. Yeah, those are my characters. And for DC's side, I don't think there was any really good games for DC's side. Well, the general gist of it was superhero games were supposed to show you this flashy hero and everything. These characters from comics and what they do and their fighting and stuff like that. And that's what people see, a comic book video game. Batman, yes, had the aesthetics of a comic book and everything like that. But it also, how do you say it? It also brought you into the world of an asylum, of a crazy, wild, insane asylum. Because when you're exploring there, not only does the theme of Batman's world, like the gothic theme and everything, help with, the sense of unknowing and unnerving feeling it's supposed to give you, but it's also the style of the penitentiary itself. The white hallways and everything, the tile floors. There's strap tables everywhere, and it's just there's people who are mentally disturbed, who are being forced down because of their condition in this place, and it really just made you feel like you were stepping in a clown world, Well, anyways, what it made me realize was how far the Arkham games got, because in Asylum, you're exploring the island. You're going around and everything, and at one point, when you're supposed to get into to the point of the game where Poison Ivy's, using her powers like crazy and everything, one of the main things that happens is her vines start growing everywhere and start wrapping around buildings and everything, including the lighthouse, I believe. And yeah, and that's a big thing. They're huge vines, or I guess you could call stalks at this point, but they're huge and you can't miss them when you're playing the game. Once you beat the game, they're there still. Even though you beat Ivy, they're still there. They're no longer, doing anything, but they're just there. It's not like they just disappear out of nowhere. Arkham City, which improved on the asylum and everything, brought it into a sectioned off area of Gotham City. If you're exploring and everything, just going around Arkham City, just checking everything out, you'll notice I believe it's the westernmost part of the map. If you go there and you look out into the water and everything, you'll see the bridge from Gotham City leading into Arkham Asylum. And if you zoom in as much as, the camera allows you to, you'll be able to see that Ivy's vines are still there. Her vines are still there. they're still wrapped around and everything. She's not controlling them because it's from the first game, and Arkham City takes place like maybe a couple of months or I think a year after Arkham Asylum. But you still see the vines. And that tells me one thing, that since the events of Arkham Asylum, that asylum is no longer being used. If it was still being used, all those vines would have been cut down, things would have been rebuilt, refurbished, and security would have been, how do you say it, would have been changed with how they do things and stuff. But it's no longer being used, which makes me think, where are they sending those inmates now? I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. But then after the events of Arkham City, like there's this one point in Arkham City, Wonder Tower, when that thing explodes and everything, it's on fire, right? The windows shatter, everything has holes in it, it explodes. When you're playing Arkham Knight is bigger than Arkham City and Arkham Asylum map. But when you're playing Arkham Knight, and I think it's either east or west, one of those sides of the map, when you look out, you'll be able to see the sectioned off city of Gotham City that they put Arkham City in. And when you see Wonder Tower, is no longer repaired. It's not repaired at all. And it may have fallen under the same thing as the asylum, which was, nobody uses that anymore. Arkham City was supposed to be something that, since the asylum was out of commission, everybody had to be put into that area of the city. It was basically going to be a free-for-all. It's like, you got put into Arkham City, good luck. You serve your sentence, that's cool. But other than that, it's just, if you die, you die. No one's there to dictate you. No one's there to be like, oh, don't fight, don't do this. No, everybody had guns in there. There was gangs, there was equipment, there was gear and everything like that. Yes, Dr. Hugo Strange was overseeing it, but it was he didn't care if people died. They didn't even have security guards like that anymore. Like in the asylum, they had the Tiger Guards, which were, theory, people were saying that the Tiger Guards were just people who were brainwashed to just feel absolutely zero emotion. And the whole thing to back that up is this: when you go in Detective Vision and you're picking off goons one at a time and everything, and the others in that area are aware of it, they start looking for you. But when they go from looking for you to trying to keep an eye out for you because they're scared of you, And that also is reflected not only on their mannerisms and what they're saying, but it's also reflecting when you put the Detective Vision on, look at them, and the scanner, the heartbeat monitor, starts scanning them. It's like this, and it starts telling you what they feel. And they go from calm to alert to terrified. And the fourth one's unconscious, but you already know how you make them get unconscious. But to terrified. And that goes for every single time in every single Predator room when you're picking them off and taking them out and everything. The thing is, when you have to do that to the Tiger Guards, you'll notice that the Tiger Guards don't lose composure. Their voices don't change. They don't start trying to call you out or anything like that. They're keeping it professional. They're keeping it together. And even if a Tiger Guard sees one of their partners knocked out on the floor, multiple partners are knocked out on the floor, and nobody else is contacting with them, if you use your detective vision on them, you'll see that it still says calm. They're not scared of Batman. But why? How? Could it be just their history? Maybe they're hardened up or something like that? Yeah, it could be. But I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into this because it is just a video game. But in real life, you could be trained for a lot of different scenarios and you could be proficient in a lot of them. But in the end of the day, we're still humans. And if we're going up against an unknown and everything, especially in a world where crazier things are possible, your emotions start coming out, even if it just is a little bit, you know. But yeah, so you'll notice that the Tiger Guards are the only ones that remain calm no matter what. So that's why people are saying like that could lead to like them probably being brainwashed by Hugo Strange, which isn't too far-fetched, especially knowing how Hugo Strange is and what he does and everything. Before Hugo Strange even knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, he just sees Bruce Wayne in the beginning, and he's still taunting him like another prisoner. He still has him strapped up into a chair. He still has all these equipment around you and everything that I'm positive he was intending on using you and everything. But yeah, that was just that's the whole theory that was coming out about the Tiger Guards in Arkham City. Arkham Knight, back to Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight, the Tiger Guards are no longer a thing. But if you look at Arkham City, you see that in the middle, Wonder Tower still has the damages sustained in Arkham City. And even if you look beyond, it's a lot more difficult now because you're a lot farther away. And then when you look beyond Arkham City, you can catch a glimpse of the asylum of Arkham Island. And you'll still see Ivy's vines. You'll still see it. And I love that type of continuity. I love it. It's so great because it shows you that, hey, those events happened. Hey, remember like a few years ago when you were in like high school or something and you were playing in Killer Croc's lair or doing the Scarecrow nightmares and then like everything like that? Yeah, that was just over there. You remember that? You were over there. It's like, remember like 2 years later when you were facing off against Two-Face, got to switch between you and Black Cat and all that stuff. Yeah, that was right there. You were there and everything. So it like Rocksteady did an incredible job of, how do you say it, of making sure that you understood that these games connected and all the things that you did in the past happened, and you see the aftermath of what you've been through as you keep progressing to each game. The one thing is, the Arkham game that people don't like and don't consider canon, even though it is officially, is Arkham Origins. Arkham Origins is a game that released between Arkham City and Arkham Knight, and it's supposed to take place on Bruce Wayne's first, not year one, but was it the first year? Or maybe like the very beginning still, like when he was still new to this superhero stuff of being Batman. And let me tell you, his suit in that one, I loved it for a couple reasons. One, and it's probably my favorite reason, is because it looks so good. It looks so good. It's not the one that you wear in Arkham Asylum or Arkham City and everything like that. No, it's still Batman style, but it's different. And here's the second reason as to why I like it. Aside from looking good, is because the reason it's different is due to the fact that Bruce Wayne, Batman, does not have all the things. He hasn't experienced enough or gone through enough to improve on his suits, you know? So that suit in Arkham Origins was basically Bruce Wayne had put together things he had and he was able to grab his hands on that he felt would aid him in being a better Batman. So instead of having, a bulletproof one piece, one tone chest piece and everything like that with a black bat symbol inside and then a cape and a cowl, he has multiple different pieces making up his chest plates. He has multiple different pieces making up his arm, his shoulder pads, his arm, like the armor for his arms, for his legs. It's all different pieces. It's not just one thing like in Arkham City and Asylum. And you could see that this is a newer version of Batman. Like this is a Bruce Wayne that just became Batman, and he's barely starting to improve on what he was in the beginning and everything. And you notice that this Bruce Wayne is a lot more. Batman is a lot more aggressive than the Asylum and City one is. He's not being like, let me think of how to solve this problem, Oracle, this and that. He's not. He's going out there, and he's still trying to think rationally, but he will go at people a lot more aggressive. The fact that in one scene in Origins literally has him knock out a thug that he needs to question, grab him, dangle him over a ledge and everything on the top of a building, and just threaten to drop him and everything with one arm. And the thug comes to, and he wakes up to being dangled upside down by Batman. He's freaking out, and Batman's just interrogating him. He's like, look, I'm gonna drop you if you don't answer my questions. And so the guy finally does, and then Batman still drops him. He still drops him off the side of a building. But here's the thing, he drops him off the side of a building because there's a giant ass Christmas tree right there, because it takes place on Christmas time. So the guy like lands on the tree, and he's still falling, but the tree is slowing down his descent and everything, to the point where once he lands on the floor, it's not enough to kill him. You know, he just falls to the floor and it hurts. But it's just like, Batman in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City doesn't do that, because I mean, he has optimal ways of doing it and everything, but it's just because he improved on his interrogation techniques, you know? I mean, interrogation wasn't even an option until City, but even at that, at City, he still never did anything like that. I would admit in Arkham Knight, he with the addition with the Batmobile, he was a little more aggressive too. But I mean, like, he knew what needed to happen. He knew that after he fixed that, it was going to be over for him as Batman. So he had to like get any info, any means possible. My favorite one is when you're interrogating some guy, you use this remote control on your wrist, and Batman's Batmobile just pulls up, and he like just oh so gently places the tire of the Batmobile on the guy's head, and he starts revving it and just inching it forward and everything, just freaking this guy out. And the guy just gives Batman what he wants, and then Batman knocks him out and everything. It's like, it's still good, you know. I loved Origins because I saw what it wasn't even Rocksteady who made Origins. It was WB Montreal. Origins basically took Arkham City's map and reworked the buildings, made it look like it hasn't been sectioned off by Gotham City, like it was still part of Gotham City. Cleaned up the buildings, cleaned up the alleyways, cleaned up everything like that. Everything you find in Arkham City, you were able to find in Arkham Origins, except a lot more put together. And it added an additional part to the bottom of Arkham City to show that this city, that Gotham is extends farther than that section of the map. And they added a few more buildings and everything. Each character looks different because each character is supposed to take place at the beginning of that time, basically. You know, this wasn't Asylum or City villains. These were the villains when they started. And I really like that. I especially Killer Croc. Killer Croc and Bane. Bane was a lot more put together. In Asylum, I hated how they did it. He was just another brute. City, kind of the same way. You never really fought him like that, but there was a twist that happened. But in Origins, they actually made him a formidable foe and everything. Remember, this is Bane, the guy who literally came to the United States, went to Gotham, found out who Batman was by doing his own investigation, found his Batcave, went in there, passed all his security, fought Batman, and broke his back. That Bane is intelligent as well as capable, and they did their best to transfer that into Arkham Origins, and it's amazing. I love that Bane and everything. Croc in Origins also looks different, of course. Instead of being like what, like this 9, 10 foot tall hulking crocodile man and everything. He and green. He's smaller, gray, and kind of looks like the more early iterations of Killer Croc. I mean, like, I have to refresh myself with my Batman knowledge, especially with Killer Croc. But from what I remember, I believe Killer Croc had a skin condition, which meant that the only reason he looks that way is because of the skin condition he obtained when he was a kid. He looks more reptilian like and everything. And Origins tried to do that, being like, hey, look, the way he looks in Asylum and City is a result of his condition getting even worse and him being mutated a little bit more and everything like that. But this is how it looked like at the very beginning. So Origins by far is one of my favorite installments in the Arkham franchise. And then Knight's still beautiful. Knight came out in like 2015. I remember I went to go get it and everything. And what do you call it? I've seen it now and it still holds up. The graphics are still like, oh my God. Like if you put that game into the new gen consoles, it'll still look the same because of how beautiful it just came out when it first came out and everything. And yeah, no, I want to replay it, and I think I'm going to replay it. Assassin's Creed Origins is the other one. I told you guys I wanted to play that earlier because I don't know why. I just loved the route they took with Origins. They made it more into like an RPG style, a little bit leaning more that way, but it was supposed to explore the beginnings of the Brotherhood, you know? Altair being the first assassin in the Assassin's Creed franchise that was established. He's iconic. And every game after that always referenced him. The only game that didn't was Origins, because Origins took place like in the BC era, you know? And there is just he was a Magi, Bayek of Siwa. He was a Magi, which were like, I think a class of warriors that were supposed to or dedicated to serving the pharaoh and only the pharaoh. But they had so much newer things. They dove into the culture, into the belief of the people in those times in that region of the world. They really explored that he's not out there trying to be sneaky and stealthy wearing a white robe or anything like that. That's just something a white hood is just something he had, you know? It was just a piece of clothing. It didn't signify anything special. The hidden blade, they explained as to why the early assassins needed to cut off the ring finger of their left hand and everything. And I loved the way they did it. It was fun because as soon as I saw that, I was like, hey, yo, that's the reason. that's why they do it. I get it and everything. And even the assassin symbol, some people call that like corny or weird. But honestly, it's like, oh my God, hold on. Listen to this real quick. Man, this makes me want to replay Skyrim now. Skyrim is such a fun game. I can't believe I waited 2 years after it came out to actually try it. Okay, let me just finish my original topic before I go into that one. So, even the assassin symbol, some people think it was kind of like corny and everything, but it was just, I thought it was pretty chill, you know? It was cool. I mean, the way the assassins got their symbol, that triangle and everything like that, was because when Bayek saw Falcon's skull on the floor, like the top half, I think it was Bayek, yeah, he picked it up, and the imprint from the skull on the sand, when he picked it up, the imprint looked exactly like the Assassin's Creed symbol we all know today. And I was like, that's pretty cool, I guess, you know? These things could random things could leave cool patterns that look pretty sick. But it didn't hit me the same way that, the before Disney bought Star Wars, the way the rebel symbol was explained, how it came to be and everything. When Starkiller from The Force Unleashed, when he sacrificed himself in the end in order to have the rebellion be free and continue fighting against the Empire, they were all like, in his memory, we're gonna keep fighting, and we need a symbol to rally behind. And they decided to use Starkiller, or at that point Galen Merrick's family crest, which is the symbol of the rebellion that we all know now and everything. I thought that was a way better way to, introduce as to why that symbol of whatever it came to be. But it was pretty cool in Origins how they did it. And they called themselves the Hidden Ones. They weren't going to be like, oh, we're assassins now. No, it was the Hidden Ones because they were operating in the shadows, hiding in plain sight and everything. And yeah, so it just made me start really thinking about it, because I remember one of the deities for the Egyptians back in the day was Sobek and everything. A deity that was like the head of a crocodile, or many different iterations like that. And there was this one area in the map that was dedicated to Sobek, and it had a bunch of crocodiles, and it looked cool, and I liked it and everything. And I just want to I want to refresh my mind on the story and everything, but I haven't completed it 100% yet, and I want to. But yeah, no, that's just my whole thing right now and everything. So it's both the Arkham franchise and Assassin's Creed Origins. But to be honest, if you guys have not played any of the Assassin's Creed games, I'll tell you this right now, my favorite one by far has to be Assassin's Creed 3. I like a lot of the unpopular ones because people don't understand Assassin's Creed 3, really. What I feel like when they say, like, oh, it's a horrible game, it's terrible, yada, yada, yada. Usually the criticisms that I hear about Assassin's Creed 3 is the fact that, one that was very actually good criticism was the fact that you're discouraged on going on rooftops and everything like that, Like, anytime you play as Connor, or his regular name, Dretono Keiton, and everything. When you go on rooftops, as an assassin, you should be going on rooftops. You can parkour. But when you're going on rooftops, Assassin's Creed 3 just really concentrates patrols on rooftops to the point where every other rooftop, you'll start getting spotted by guards posted on them. And it gets annoying because if they completely spot you and everything before you have the time to break their line of sight or anything, they start aggroing, and then you just got to kill them, and then hopefully no other guard passes by and sees that, because then they'll just aggro, and then now you have this whole thing going on. Well, how do you say it? That's a valid criticism. I hated that with any other Assassin's Creed games and everything, but they improved on that over time. But the other ones that weren't so great was the fact that they were saying Connor was boring. They're like, oh, not Ezio, this and that. Why we get Connor after Ezio and all that stuff? He sucks. He's terrible. He's boring, yada, yada. And it's just like, well, what do you expect? What do you expect? Connor was born in a time where colonials were already around. We're already establishing the 13 colonies, It's like he was born in his people's tribe and everything in the forest, and he was raised in their ways. He never knew his father, because his father, Haytham Kenway, was, how do you say it? He banged his mom, Connor's mom, and then that resulted with Connor and everything. But he was a Templar, and he was there to achieve a goal, to do a mission, and he couldn't let a family slow him down, so he left and everything. And it's not like Connor's mom had or how to, I forgot how to say her name, but she said Zio for short, so we'll call her Zio. Zio harbored no ill feelings for Hatham. She even said after, like, they smashed in the cave and everything, that she even said that, he was a Templar and she knew that he longed to continue whatever he was doing, that his mind wasn't fully with the family. But she said she misses him. He was a kind man and everything. He didn't treat her wrong, but he knew that he couldn't focus on family right now because of who he was. So, what do you call it? And yeah, she said at times she does miss him. So Connor grew up not knowing his dad or anything, and trying to just grow up the way of his people, knowing that other tribes are losing their lands, they're fighting, they're dying, yada yada. Well, anyways, the one time he really meets some colonials and everything like that, he gets choked out as a kid. He wakes up and he sees his entire village on fire. And he knows, or he believes he knows who it is. And he's like, running to his village. People are dying. They burned alive. And he watches his own mom burn to death. And it's like, you think that's cool? You think people are going to be like, yeah, no, it's cool, just watch my mom die in front of me when I was a child. That's totally not scarring. Well, not only that, his people built up again. They still stayed in the same area and where his mother died. You don't think growing up for years, this guy, Connor, looks at the area where he last saw his mother alive and just doesn't constantly think about it? I would. If I witness, God forbid, if I witness my mother pass anything away tragically, and I end up still having to frequent that area every day as I grew up, I wouldn't have forgotten it ever. So, how do you say it? He grew up that way. He still had to grow up. How do you say it? He still had to grow up learning how to hunt, learning how to gather, learning how to fight, learning how to defend, doing basically everything that you shouldn't have to do when you're a kid, when you're a young adult or a teenager just trying to grow up, But that's what he had to do. He had to fight off a bear as a teenager and everything. It's like, how crazy that is? But then he keeps seeing visions. And then, like, he goes to his tribes. I don't know how to call it. But he gets told he needs to seek out somebody and begin some training and everything. He does. And he does that when he's just a teenager. And he trains for, I forgot how long. But at this point, he's already an adult. And he's been training for a long time how to be an assassin with no friends and no family, just him and his master. You think somebody's going to grow up with such a great sense of humor like that, with a sense of charisma, or are they just going to look at life and just be serious all the time, focused on the mission, fixed on your objective? It's like Ezio only grew up as charismatic and, how do you call it, as a ladies' man the way he did because he was born into a wealthy family. They had their own villa and everything. They had their own family name, their crest, all that stuff. They had servers. They have a huge place to live in. This guy was surrounded by luxury and money. Of course, this dude won't have trouble in his life. The most trouble he had and everything was just, how do you say it? Sorry, I'm just cracking my arms. The most fun he's had and everything was, well, trouble was when him and his group of friends, I don't even call them a gang, was going up against another guy in his group of friends. That was it. At most, they threw rocks, but they just fought still, and Ezio still won. He had his entire family with him. He grew up to like be 20 or 21, I believe. And he already had that charisma in him. He already had that, oh yeah, look at me, I'm Ezio, this and that. Ezio de Torre de Firenze. And just, he had that charisma. He had that way with the ladies, with anybody he meets and everything. That was already ingrained and established in him, and he honed it before tragedy struck him and his family. And he was forced to take on the mantle of an assassin. He didn't even know what assassins were until after his family died, you know? And it's just like, I'm not saying that Ezio wouldn't have dark times, because he did. I mean, he had to mourn his family, and he was out for revenge against those who took them away from him. But what I'm saying is, due to the fact that Ezio had so much on his side since the moment he was born, he was able to grow up without burdens. He was able to grow up without any true trauma or darkness or anything that would affect him in the long run. He went through it at a moment when he was already a grown-up. Connor went through it when he was a child. He had to witness everything when he was just a child, and he had to grow up like an adult when he was still a child and a teenager. So of course Connor isn't going to be always flirting, always being charismatic or anything. He's gonna be serious, because that's just how he grew up. That's just his experience and everything. So when people are saying Connor's too boring, it's just like, yeah, what do you expect from somebody who went through all the stuff he went through, you know? That's like complaining that the Punisher's too dark and boring. It's just like, look what he went through. Look at everything he had to do in his life. And it's like, oh, Spider-Man, he struggles. It's like, yeah, Spider-Man struggles and everything like that, but he still grew up like a normal kid. Despite his mom and dad dying, he didn't witness them die. Not at all. He remembers good times with his parents, and then they went away for a bit. They were just told him it was a trip. They died supposedly and everything, and he went to go live with his aunt and uncle, who raised him as their own. So he still had parental figures. He still had people who were there for him, supported him, listened to him, helped him out. He still had the things that somebody who is young and is growing up needs to have in their life in order to have the best chance of being, you know, how do you say it? Normal, basically. Connor didn't. Connor didn't. He had the tribe, yes, but I mean, like, he witnessed his mom burn to death. He witnessed his whole village, his tribe, burned down to the ground. Peter didn't do any of that. Peter is basically going through the same thing we're all going through. Struggling with money, struggling with rent, struggling with life in general. He has the added burden of being a superhero and stuff. But that's really about it. He's not really struggling like any more than any other of us are doing. Connor is. The Punisher is. And all that stuff. But that's just my thoughts. So, and also because the main reason I like Assassin's Creed 3 is because it takes place during the American Revolution against the British. And that's really one of my most favorite moments in history. Like, I loved history in high school. I passed history. I wouldn't say with flying colors, but I passed history a lot better than I passed most of my other classes that I really didn't care about, because I just love history that much. I'll learn more. I'll learn a lot more. I love it. You know what I want them to do? I want them to make an Assassin's Creed game with because Mayan assassins exist, believe it or not. Mayan assassins are a thing. It's already been established in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. You go around, you're sailing around and everything like that in the Caribbean and stuff. And when you find out that your friend Captain Kidd, not the actual Captain Kidd, what do you call it? What's her name? Took it up as her name. Captain Kidd tells you, go to this island, you know, and you find out that that island's inhabited, and you have to silently, non-lethally knock out people that you need to knock out until you reach to her. And then she shows you this underground temple area, yada yada, and then you find out about this locked away Mayan armor that makes you bulletproof once you unlock it with all the keys you have to collect around the map. But you find out she's trained with other assassins. I think it's Atabai or something like that. I forgot his name. But she's training with other assassins. And even though the assassins don't deliberately say that they're Mayan, you just got to look at everything around. You got to look at the areas. You got to look at their things. You got to look, even the special locked away outfit. All of it is Mayan. Every single one of them. They're a thing. They're assassins. And they're already doing this thing with, they did it with Origins, when it's the Egyptians and their gods and their beliefs and everything like that, and their history. They did it with Odyssey, which is, in my opinion, the worst Assassin's Creed game ever. They did it with Odyssey for the Spartans, for the what is that other area called? I forgot what it's called. It's I'm gonna remember later. I'm gonna hate myself. The Athenians, I think. I don't know. I gotta look it up. Well, anyways, they did it with both of them, and with their beliefs and their deities and stuff like that, and they're doing it still with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is sick. I love that game. Origins and Valhalla and Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, Unity, and those are my favorite things for the Assassin's Creed franchise. What do you call it? They're doing it for Valhalla, and I want to continue playing it now that I mentioned it. You know, just sit down with a beer and stuff. But they're doing it with Valhalla, and they're really focusing on Valhalla right now, which is great. Absolutely great. I love it. But it's just like, now you did it with that, why don't you explore the Mayan assassins? The Mayans have so much to offer, and they have so much in real life. They have so much history, and they have so much mystery. They have all this stuff, and they're established in the Assassin's Creed world already. Explore them. That's sick. That's really cool, you know? It's like, let's do that. How do you call it? Oh, I'm sorry, my back kind of hurts right now. So yeah, so it's just like, really just focus on that. They have cool weapons. They have cool real life history. And I know with the whole Assassin's Creed franchise taking liberties here and there, nowadays, you know, you can add on to that what people believe or what you think would fit great with that type of environment, with that type of people. And it's going to be awesome. I could show my mom and be like, hey, Mom, look at where you grew up. That's a joke. Well, anyways, it's something that just made me think about this right now. You know what's crazy, though, about Ubisoft is that I don't think they know what they want, you know? Because they release the Assassin's Creed franchise, but they also release Watch Dogs. The first one was a flop. People were advertising it as the GTA killer, but it wasn't. It was terrible. And the whole controversy with the graphics, them saying they downgraded it. Well, people saying they downgraded it, which they did, but then like PC modder, I think it was either a mod and reading the code, they were to see that the graphics they showed on E3, they weren't taken away, they were just turned off. And then so they made a mod where you could turn it on, and it just looks the same way it looked in E3. Gorgeous. Watch Dogs 2. I can't play too much because it starts making me miss home a lot, because I end up just driving around, seeing the inconsistencies, but also recognizing streets from back home, and just remember, like, bringing back memories of how I grew up, with who I grew up and everything, and all my little adventures there, here and there, makes me want to go home bad. Then you have Watch Dogs Legions, which I started playing, but I just haven't continued. Well, anyways, the reason I bring them up is because Ubisoft, like I said, doesn't know what they want. They're saying, "Oh, they're not connected. They're in different universes. They're not connected." Yada yada. It's like, then explain as to why the Abstergo symbol is in Far Cry 3. Yeah, it could be an Easter egg and everything. I understand that, but also explain to me as to why in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Olivier Goudin, this French guy, ends up saying that he's leaving to Chicago for a meeting. And then later on in the game, you find out that he's gone. No one knows where he went. No one heard a word from him or anything like that. And you're like, what happened to him? Where'd he go? What'd he do? And everything. It's never answered. And then you play Watch Dogs. And in one of the missions in Watch Dogs, it's not even a mission story mode. It's just you stumble upon it. It's called the Brotherhood and everything. Or Rescate in Pace, which is Italian for rest in peace, according to Assassin's Creed 2. They, how do you say it? It has you taking out a target called Olivier Goudin and everything. I know I'm butchering the French language. I'm sorry. But I'll just call him Olivier. So, like, they have you targeting him. And the game takes place in Chicago. The same place he said that he was going to go to in Assassin's Creed 4. So you see him in Watch Dogs. It's the same guy. It's undeniable. And here's the thing. The mission will not let you kill him. You can't shoot this guy. You have to use your baton and knock him out. And that's how you win. And that's it. That's the end of the mission. Nothing else happens. So people are like, oh, you know, that means they're connected. And Ubisoft's like, no, that doesn't mean anything. And it's just like, what? And it's just like, and then you play Origins. And when you go into the modern day in Origins and you look through the computer and you look through your files and everything, you'll see that there's photo evidence of what happened to Olivier in Chicago. And you see the guy taking him out is Aiden Pierce from the first Watchdog game. And it's just like, look, this is connecting both games together. And they're like, nah, no, it's not. It's not, it's just like, yes, it is. It's connecting both of them together. And it's like, you have Far Cry 3, you have Black Flag, you have Watch Dogs, then you have Assassin's Creed Origins and everything. And it's just like, this is connecting them. How do you say it? Then in Watch Dogs Legion, you can jump off a plank on this tall building into water and you'll hear the eagle screeching, just like in Assassin's Creed games. But those could just be put in for, like, how do you say it? Just for an Easter egg. And I get that, except for the fact that Ubisoft released an entire DLC connected to the main game where you're playing a literal assassin. You're playing against Templars, and one of the missions, you're seeing these statues, and you're seeing statues of Arno Dorian from Assassin's Creed Unity. I think Edward Kenway from Assassin's Creed 4. And I believe the other one is... No, it's not Edward Kenway. It's Evie and Jacob Fry from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. You're putting established characters in another game. And it's just like, you Templars and the Assassins, that's a thing that's happening. Their style, their hoodies, everything. They're assassins. You're putting them in games. Like, no, this is just fan service and everything. It's like, no, you're making references to actual events that happen in other games and everything. You're recalling actual events. And it's just like, they're saying, no, it's not. No, it's not. And now what they want me to believe, or what they want everybody to believe, is that none of the Far Cry games are connected either, supposedly, even though they already established that they are. It's like, hey, how are you able to do Far Cry 6 if Far Cry 5 happened and the whole place has got nuked, And like, there was a new world. It's like, oh, it's not connected. I'm like, oh, that's weird, because Boomer from Far Cry 5 is known as Boom Boom in Far Cry 6, and when you free him from a crate, you'll read a letter in there, and it's literally referencing Herc in Montana and the monkey god and everything like that, and him sending the dog to Yara, the fictional Cuba. And it's just like, they're connected. You're literally telling us they're connected, and you're basically saying no, they're not, even though you're telling us yes, they are. I don't know. It's just my thoughts, and it frustrates me because it's just like, dude, just flat out say they're connected. And yeah, that's why did I take like almost an hour explaining these video game thoughts in my head? I don't know. It's just stuff that I just really, really think about. But that's my whole thing. I love the Far Cry series. I just feel like they're trying really hard to replicate Far Cry 3. And yeah, but I want to play that with my friend again and have a good time. Well, before I leave, one last thing I want to talk to you guys about is a Moon Knight. You already knew it was coming. Moon Knight. Yesterday was the day. It was March 30th. The first episode of Moon Knight dropped. And let me tell you guys, this might be a little mini review, but I kind of want to do it in my other channel. Moon Knight has completely surprised me. And it gets me sad and it gets me happy at the same time. Let me explain. The reason is, I believe in my other episodes, and if you guys ever saw my comic channel, I explained that Moon Knight has split personalities. He has Steven, he has Jake Lockley, and Mark Spector. He has Mr. Knight. He has Moon Knight. He has all of them. I love the way they did it in the show. Spoilers. If you're listening to this, what I'm going to talk right now has spoilers. Spoilers. All right, I can't say this enough. Spoilers. All right, there we go. So, the show has, despite being the first episode, the show has already, how do you say it, established that Mark Spector's origins had already happened. Because like, what do you call it? When the show starts, it's how do I say this? When the show starts, it's basically showing us some weird thing with glass on feet and everything like that. But when it goes, it's basically just, how do you say it? Oh man, what is this? Sorry, I just see something on my phone. So we just see that Stephen Grant is doing his regular day, is strapped into his bed by his ankle, and just carrying on. And, you know, we're just seeing like what kind of man Stephen Grant is. It's weird a little bit, especially since you see the sand around his bed and then his ankle strapped. But, you know, we're interested. It's little things like that that are making us invest into just holding off and seeing where it's going to take us. I was wondering how they were going to go at it with his multiple personalities. I didn't know. And then this one scene happened where he goes to bed, does his regular routine, goes to bed, and does, all that stuff. And then he wakes up in the Alps, you know? He's not in the States. He's not in UK anymore. He's in the Alps. And people just start shooting at him. And he's so confused, just like us, because we don't know what the hell's happening. I mean, if you're fans of Moon Knight since the comics, you know, but other people who are watching it for the first time or knowing about the character for the first time don't. And then, like, he gets stuck in the predicament. Then the camera zooms to his face, starting to kind of spaz out. And then when it goes back to normal, bodies are just laying around him on the floor. And it's like, what? And it starts showing you that this voice is speaking to him. And he doesn't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. Just, who is this voice? What is this thing he's looking at and everything that keeps popping up in his head? And it's like, so they're telling him weird things like, hey, why are you here? And it's just like, what are you talking about? It's like, stop coming back. I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And then this other voice just speaking to him in an American accent. He's like, what is going on? Who are you? What are you trying to tell me and everything? People who are new to Moon Knight are going to be wondering like, yo, what is this guy's deal? But how do you say it? Yeah, they're going to be like, what is this guy's deal? But you keep watching, you'll notice that this guy has is starting to slowly battle with himself in his head. You see that he's not really going up against enemies. Yeah, it shows like a couple in the show in the first episode, but the real main focus is this guy is battling in his own mind. He's like, why is this weird version of me talking to me in an American accent? Who is this creature in my mind speaking to me? He's just like, he wakes up and realizes, he's like, oh, it's Friday. No, it's Sunday. It's like, what are you talking about? It's been a few days already. And he's like, I just woke up. I just got here. What are you talking about? And it's just like, really, what is going on with him? Did he have a dream or was it a reality? You know, you wake up in the same way you fell asleep, but it turns out something might have happened or might have not, or maybe did, possibly did, probably didn't though. It's confusing. It's weird, but they're starting to nail it. You know, they're starting to like really just. I hope they took their time with it. I honestly do. I hope they really studied the character because honestly, people had criticisms. I'll get to that more in depth, but later or another time. But people had criticisms, and I got to analyze them to see if I personally believe that they're actual like good criticisms or it's just nitpicky. But so far, my whole thing is I feel like I'm gonna enjoy Moon Knight. Especially for the fact that I love that they do this. I really love that they did this with Matt Murdock Daredevil. They did this with how do you call it, with the Punisher. Except Moon Knight, it's a little bit different, and I'll explain to in a bit. In Daredevil, they already established that Matt Murdock was doubling as a vigilante at nighttime while being a lawyer for his day job. They already started the show, and that had already been established. They didn't do what movies do and try and they're like, oh, normal guy. Oh, look, something happened. Oh, wow, he's now conflicted or anything like that. They're like, no, he already went through all that. This is what he's doing now. So let's see what we can do from here on out. The Punisher was the same way in season 2 of the Daredevil, you know? We didn't see Frank Castle's origin. We didn't see him go through, well, at this point, Afghanistan, because like in the comics, it was Vietnam. But we didn't have to go through any of that. When we were introduced to Frank Castle in season 2 of Daredevil, it was already, how do you say it? It was already established that he was taking vengeance in his own hands. And for, how do you say it? Yeah, those two. Same thing with Luke Cage. Iron Fist, no. Iron Fist was already the Iron Fist, but he didn't have to deal with all the stuff he did in the comics as yet. But Moon Knight was a little bit different. Because the thing those other shows had in common is even though those characters were already doing what they do, they didn't officially pick up the mantle that they wanted to pick up until a couple of episodes later. Like in the season 2 of Daredevil, it was the very last episode until Frank Castle took a vest and painted the White Skull logo. And how do you call it? In Daredevil, it was until the last episode of season 1 where Matt Murdock dons the Daredevil suit. But in season 1, episode 1 of Moon Knight, and again, spoilers, please, spoilers. It's not, no. Even though it doesn't happen until like the last minute, it's already established that not only did Mark Spector go already was a Marine. I think they'll go that route. Was a heavyweight boxer, even though it's Oscar Isaac. I don't think he'd be a heavyweight boxer, welterweight probably. And was already a mercenary. He already had been to Egypt. He'd already had been betrayed by Bushmen. He had already been left for dead, and he's already had contact and resurrected by the Egyptian moon god Khonshu. He already became the avatar of justice. This guy had already gone through all of that already. He's done it. He's been it. Especially in the last minute when you see that this guy was talking to his alter ego in the mirror. It was Stephen Grant talking to Mark Spector in the bathroom, saying, and Mark was telling him, like, look, I can save us. Let me take control. I can save us. And he does. Next thing you know, the Moon Knight. He already has his costume. He already has his suit. They didn't have to build up to it. They didn't have to like, oh, I gotta have a symbol. I need to cover myself. Yada yada. No. He already has a suit. And from the looks of it, is the show is making it so the suit is a power of his, Because in the comics it wasn't. It was a suit that he created. All the weapons he has and everything like that, he created. Well, some of them he received and everything. But this one is making him look like once he calls upon the powers of the moon god of Khonshu, his suit comes over him. And I love the mummified style and everything. Love it. And so far, I'm not angry at it. I do thoroughly enjoy it. So, my thoughts, Moon Knight is going to be a very good show. I just hope that agendas don't get pushed in. I just hope that things aren't really watered down. Because if you really want Moon Knight to not just be another beat 'em up character, you really got to show the world who Moon Knight really is. And that's just my thoughts. That's just what I feel should happen. And, good for Oscar Isaac. Good for the fact that Marvel decided to really roll the dice with Moon Knight. Because like I said before, he's not an easy character. He's not somebody who has a set story and there you go, following it. He's not Batman, who his origin is he witnessed his parents get killed in front of him when he was a kid, and now he's, the Batman. No. He's, how do you call it? He's somebody who his life fluctuated and just got turned upside down, turned around and everything like that. And you just don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, that's my thought on Moon Knight, and I'm just happy that it's happening. I really am. Well, that's really all I have for right now. Maybe I'll do something later. I don't know. But yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Afternoon, evening, night, morning, next morning. I don't know. Maybe I'll do another one tomorrow. I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day. And I'll see you next time on the episode of The Mind of Mando. See ya.